Ladies and gentlemen, wealth doesn't start in your wallet. It starts in your mind. If you want to change your financial reality, you have to first transform your mental blueprint, not just by wishing or hoping, but by mastering your thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs about abundance. Let's be honest, most people are trying to earn more while still thinking poor. They carry unconscious beliefs like money is hard to get, or rich people are greedy, or I don't deserve to be wealthy. But here's the truth, you will never outearn your mindset. You cannot attract what your subconscious is repelling. The good news is you can change it, you can rewire it, you can master it. Wealth is not an accident, it is a result of habits, vision, value, and internal alignment. And today, I'm going to give you the mental techniques to start attracting wealth on a whole new level. The first step is to rewrite your money story. Every single day, you are telling yourself something about money, whether you're aware of it or not. Your story shapes your expectations, and your expectations create your results. So if you believe deep down that there's never enough, or that you're bad with money, or that you'll always struggle, you will unconsciously act in ways that confirm that story. But if you choose to believe, I am a magnet for wealth, I provide massive value, I create money with ease, then your behavior starts to match those beliefs. This is not just self-help fluff. This is psychology. Next, you must learn to focus on value, not just income. Wealthy people don't chase money. They create value. They solve problems. They build things. They serve at a high level. The money follows. If you want more money, stop asking, how can I get more? And start asking, how can I become more valuable to more people? Your income is a direct reflection of how much value you're putting into the world and how often you're doing it. Then comes visualization, but not in the passive, dreamy way. I'm talking about emotional visualization with purpose. Every morning, take 5 minutes to close your eyes and see yourself living in abundance. Not just seeing it, feeling it. How do you walk? How do you speak? What decisions do you make when you already have financial freedom? That emotional imprint creates neurological alignment. The brain starts to build pathways as if it's already happening. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe is already yours. Another key is to master your language. Words shape identity. Stop saying, I'm broke. Stop saying, I can't afford it. Start saying, I'm building wealth. Start saying, I'm learning how to create multiple streams of income. Speak from where you're going, not where you've been. Because your mind listens, and when your language shifts, your results begin to shift. The story you tell yourself about money is one of the most powerful forces shaping your financial reality. Most people operate from unconscious beliefs inherited from childhood, culture, or past failures. These beliefs become internal scripts that play on repeat. Money is hard to get. I'm not good with money. We can't afford that. Or rich people are greedy. Even when someone tries to grow financially, those old patterns of thought sabotage their efforts. The brain seeks to stay consistent with what it believes, so if you subconsciously believe wealth isn't for you, your decisions, habits, and energy will align to keep you right where you are. That's why rewriting your money story is not just important, it's essential. You must consciously choose to replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of thinking from lack, you begin thinking from abundance. You start affirming, I am a wealth creator. Money flows to me because I create value. I am worthy of financial freedom. And it's not just about saying these things, it's about conditioning your mind to feel them, believe them, and act on them. Every time you choose a new belief, you're laying down a new neural pathway. Over time, those beliefs become your identity, and that identity shapes your results. Wealth isn't about luck or privilege. It's about the inner narrative you choose to run every day. When that narrative shifts, everything else begins to follow. There is a power inside of you that has been buried, not because it's broken, but because it's been forgotten. In a world filled with noise, stress, fear, and constant pressure, many of us have lost connection with the most important truth of all. You are not a victim of your mind. You are the master of it. Today, we are going to awaken that truth. This message isn't just about motivation. It's a divine reminder that you were created for more, that your thoughts are not random, they are seeds, and when planted with intention, they bear the fruit of clarity, abundance, purpose, and peace. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, stuck, or like you're drowning in mental chaos, this is your call to rise, to reclaim the steering wheel, to retrain your mind and rewrite your future. Let's begin the journey to unlock your God-given potential, starting now. The story you tell yourself about money is one of the most powerful forces shaping your financial reality. Most people operate from unconscious beliefs inherited from childhood, culture, or past failures. These beliefs become internal scripts that play on repeat. Money is hard to get. I'm not good with money. We can't afford that. Or rich people are greedy. Even when someone tries to grow financially, those old patterns of thought sabotage their efforts. The brain seeks to stay consistent with what it believes, so if you subconsciously believe wealth isn't for you, your decisions, habits, and energy will align to keep you right where you are. That's why rewriting your money story is not just important, it's essential. You must consciously choose to replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of thinking from lack, you begin thinking from abundance. You start affirming, I am a wealth creator. Money flows to me because I create value. I am worthy of financial freedom. And it's not just about saying these things. It's about conditioning your mind to feel them, believe them, and act on them. Every time you choose a new belief, you're laying down a new neural pathway. Over time, those beliefs become your identity, and that identity shapes your results. Wealth isn't about luck or privilege. It's about the inner narrative you choose to run every day. When that narrative shifts, everything else begins to follow. The story you tell yourself about money is more powerful than any strategy, opportunity, or external circumstance. Every single person walks around with an internal script about what money means, how it works, and what they believe they deserve. These stories often begin in childhood and go unquestioned for years, shaping behaviors, habits, and outcomes. You might have been raised hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are selfish, or we can't afford that. Those statements may have seemed harmless, but they formed the foundation of a belief system that can either attract abundance or push it away. What you believe at the subconscious level determines how you show up in the world. If you believe deep down that wealth is for other people but not for you, you will find ways, consciously or unconsciously, to sabotage opportunities, delay decisions, or settle for less than you're capable of. This is why changing your financial life requires more than just working harder. It requires a conscious, consistent effort to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself about money. Most people approach wealth from a place of fear or lack. They focus on what they don't have, what they've lost, or how far behind they are. But that mindset becomes a trap. Your brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It looks for evidence to support whatever belief you've planted in it. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll notice every financial mistake you make and ignore the progress. If you believe you can't get ahead, you'll feel resistance in every attempt to grow. But when you begin to shift that belief, even just a little, you change what you notice, how you feel, and what actions you take. The process starts with awareness. You must first identify the limiting money beliefs that have been running your life. Then, one by one, you replace them with empowering beliefs rooted in truth, growth, and abundance. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, you start saying, how can I afford that? Instead of thinking, I'll never be rich, you begin thinking, I'm learning how to build wealth. These shifts may seem small, but they are incredibly powerful. They move you out of victim mode and into possibility. They invite your brain to search for solutions instead of problems. And over time, these new beliefs begin to reshape your identity. You start to see yourself not as someone who struggles, but as someone who creates, contributes, and prospers. This transformation isn't instant, and it isn't always easy. You'll face doubt. You'll hear the old story trying to creep back in. But every time you choose the new belief, you weaken the old one. Every time you speak from abundance, you're programming your nervous system for a new reality. The story you repeat becomes the life you live. So if you want to experience wealth, joy, and freedom, it starts with becoming the author of your new money story, one that empowers you, expands you, and aligns you with the wealth that's already waiting to meet you, once you believe you're worthy of it. Chasing money alone will never lead to lasting wealth. The most financially successful people in the world didn't become wealthy by obsessing over income. They focused on becoming valuable. They understood a core truth: money is a byproduct of value creation. When you become someone who solves problems, meets needs, and delivers consistent results, money flows naturally to you. But most people get stuck in the trap of focusing on how much they can get instead of how much they can give. This mindset of scarcity leads to frustration, burnout, and inconsistency because it's rooted in desperation, not purpose. If you truly want to master your finances and unlock endless wealth, you must shift your attention from income to impact. Ask yourself daily, how can I be of greater service? What skills can I sharpen? What unique value can I bring to the marketplace? The more valuable you become, the more doors open. It's not about working more, it's about working with intention, with clarity, and with the mindset of contribution. Value doesn't always mean working harder. It often means thinking deeper. It means innovating, listening, adapting, and serving at a higher level. Whether you're an employee, entrepreneur, or artist, your wealth is directly tied to the quality and consistency of the value you provide. This is why two people in the same profession can earn drastically different incomes, because one is committed to excellence while the other is merely trying to get by. One is invested in growth, while the other is comfortable in routine. Value isn't just what you do, it's how you do it. The energy, passion, and detail you bring to your craft amplify your worth in ways that money alone never could. This also means detaching yourself, worth from your net worth. When you focus solely on money, every setback feels personal. But when you focus on growing your value, every challenge becomes a learning opportunity. You stop measuring your progress only by income and start measuring it by the impact you're creating. This shift not only fuels motivation, it builds resilience. You're no longer thrown off course by temporary financial dips because your foundation is built on something far deeper than a number in your bank account. It's built on your identity as someone who contributes meaningfully. And here's the beautiful paradox: the moment you stop chasing money and start chasing mastery, the money begins to chase you. You attract clients, opportunities, promotions, and partnerships not because you're begging for them, but because you've become someone who creates undeniable value. People pay for transformation, not information. They invest in results, in experiences, and in leadership. So when you become someone who brings those things to the table consistently, your income becomes a natural reflection of the value you deliver. You don't need to be the smartest or most talented person in the room. You just need to become obsessed with delivering value. That commitment alone will elevate your life. Wealth is not reserved for a lucky few. It's available to those who commit to showing up with excellence, serving others fully, and creating value without constantly looking at the scoreboard. When you do that, wealth won't be something you chase. It will be something you attract. And it will flow to you because you've earned it by becoming the kind of person who multiplies value everywhere you go. Visualization is more than a motivational tool. It's a neurological strategy to align your mind with your future. Most people drift through life reacting to circumstances rather than creating outcomes. They hope things will change but rarely train their minds to experience that change in advance. The truth is, your brain doesn't fully distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's actually experienced. This means you can rehearse success before it shows up. When you close your eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize a life of abundance, living in alignment with your highest self, you begin to condition your nervous system to accept that reality as possible and eventually inevitable. The key isn't just to visualize the image, it's to feel it emotionally. That's where most people miss the mark. They might picture a goal, a house, a lifestyle, but they remain emotionally disconnected from it. Real change happens when you bring emotion into the vision, when you imagine walking into that dream home, not just seeing it, but feeling the pride, the peace, the gratitude that comes with it. When you visualize delivering that world-class presentation, not just the applause, but the confidence, the focus, the internal certainty that floods your system, those emotions become the language your brain uses to create new neural pathways. And those pathways eventually influence how you think, decide, and act. This isn't just daydreaming, it's mental programming. Athletes use it before games, performers use it before shows, leaders use it before big decisions. Because they understand something most people ignore. If you rehearse your future with enough repetition and emotional intensity, your brain begins to believe it's who you are now, not who you're trying to become. And when that belief becomes your baseline, your behavior follows effortlessly. You speak differently, walk differently, think differently, not because you're pretending, but because your internal system now expects this higher version of you to show up. The best time to do this is in the morning, before the world grabs your attention. Take just 5 minutes to breathe, close your eyes, and step into the most empowered, abundant, focused version of yourself. Ask, how does this version of me speak? How do they move? What choices do they make? Don't just watch it like a movie, live it from the inside. Let your breath, your posture, and your emotions match that vision. The more vividly and frequently you do this, the more your brain wires itself to bring that version of you to life. The greatest enemy of change is familiarity. Your brain wants to keep repeating what it knows, even if it doesn't serve you. Visualization interrupts that cycle. It tells your mind a new story and invites it to build a new identity. And once that identity becomes real in your mind, the world begins to mirror it back to you. Opportunities appear, confidence rises, decisions become easier. You're no longer operating from who you were. You're operating from who you're becoming, and that's the true power of visualization. It doesn't just help you see the future. It helps you feel it, believe it, and ultimately live it. The words you speak are not just expressions of thought. They are instructions to your subconscious mind. Every time you say something out loud, you're reinforcing a belief. You're signaling to your brain what to focus on, what to feel, and how to behave. Most people go through life unaware that their language is working against them. They say things like, I'm broke, I'm not good with money, or I'll never catch a break. And not realizing these phrases become self-fulfilling prophecies. When repeated often enough, those statements begin to hardwire into your identity. And once your identity is built around lack, fear, or struggle, your behavior will follow. You'll sabotage opportunities, avoid risk, and stay stuck. Not because you're incapable, but because your language has boxed you into a version of yourself that isn't aligned with your potential. Mastering your language means becoming deeply intentional about the words you allow to leave your mouth. You don't speak from where you are. You speak from where you're going. If you want to be wealthy, start saying, I'm building wealth. If you want to be confident, say, I speak with power and certainty. This isn't about lying to yourself, it's about leading yourself. Language is not just reflective, it is directive. You are not just describing your reality, you are shaping it. Your brain is always listening. The more emotion you attach to a statement, the deeper it imprints. That's why angry rants or emotional breakdowns tend to stick in memory longer. They carry intensity. But you can use that same principle to anchor empowering truths. Say your affirmations with energy. Declare your goals with passion. When you speak with conviction, your brain listens, adapts, and begins to accept those declarations as your new normal. This isn't magic, it's neuroscience. The repetition of intentional language changes your beliefs, which then changes your behavior, which eventually changes your results. Another key is to eliminate disempowering filler language. Words like maybe, I'll try, I hope, or someday drain your power. They signal uncertainty and hesitation. Instead, use words that reflect certainty. I will. I choose. I am committed. Even if your situation hasn't changed yet, your language can start the transformation immediately. Because when you speak with certainty, your body responds differently, your mind finds solutions instead of excuses, your energy shifts from passive to proactive, and that shift changes everything. Your internal dialogue matters just as much. Most people's inner voice is full of doubt, fear, and criticism, but the voice inside your head needs to become your greatest coach, not your harshest critic. Pay attention to how you talk to yourself, especially in moments of stress or challenge. Speak to yourself the way you would to someone you love. Be firm but empowering. Be honest but hopeful. Over time, this internal dialogue creates the foundation for emotional resilience and mental toughness. You don't need to be perfect with your words, but you do need to be aware. Every sentence either builds your future or reinforces your limitations. So speak with purpose, speak with power. And remember that the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself every single day. Let your words rise to meet your vision. Let your language align with the life you're committed to creating. Because once your mouth begins to reflect your destiny, your mind, and your life will begin to follow. Fear and anxiety are not signs of weakness. They're signals. They reveal where your attention is going and what story you're believing in the moment. But the problem is that most people don't question those feelings. They obey them. They shrink when fear rises. They freeze when anxiety hits. They begin to build a life around what they're trying to avoid instead of what they're called to become. Mastering your mind means learning to show up anyway, not waiting for fear to go away, not hoping anxiety will magically disappear, but making a conscious decision to rise above those feelings through consistent, intentional action. Your mind, like your body, needs training, it needs structure, it needs leadership, and the truth is, no one else can do that for you. You have to be the one who gets up when it would be easier to stay down. You have to be the one who moves forward when everything in you wants to pause. The fear may not leave right away, but neither will you, because your mission is more important than your mood. The moment you decide to show up for your mind daily, through practices like meditation, journaling, goal setting, visualization, or breath work, you're telling your brain, I'm in charge. You're reclaiming authority over the thoughts that used to run wild. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty. It multiplies in silence. It grows stronger when you avoid, suppress, or numb it. But the way you break its hold is by stepping toward it, naming it, and then acting in alignment with who you want to be, not how you feel right now. Every time you move in spite of fear, you teach your nervous system a new way to respond. You shrink fear's influence. You build courage, not because you never feel afraid, but because you do the work anyway. There is no single moment where fear suddenly vanishes. It fades slowly as you build confidence through repetition. Confidence is not a gift, it's a reward for showing up. The more you do the thing you once thought you couldn't, the more your mind learns to trust you. That's the key. You stop waiting to feel ready, you stop needing a guarantee, and you start becoming someone who keeps promises to themselves even when it's uncomfortable. You also stop comparing your internal process to someone else's highlight reel. Everyone you admire has battled fear. Everyone you look up to has felt anxiety and kept going. The difference isn't in what they felt. It's in what they did with those feelings. You don't rise by avoiding emotion. You rise by facing it and still choosing forward motion. Every day you're given a choice. You can surrender to fear, or you can show up for your mind and prove to yourself that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of those thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are the force behind them. And when you choose to lead your mind instead of being led by it, your entire reality begins to shift. Not overnight, but absolutely over time. Because consistency builds trust, and trust builds transformation, and that's how you rise, one decision at a time. So here's the truth. Your mind is not your enemy, it's your greatest ally once you choose to lead it. You were never meant to live in survival mode, trapped by fear, anxiety, or limitation. You were created with purpose, intention, and a power so deep that when unlocked, it transforms not just your circumstances, but your identity. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. The shift begins the moment you say enough. Enough playing small, enough believing old lies, enough living on autopilot. You have the authority to renew your mind, to reshape your story, and to rise. day by day, habit by habit, thought by thought. Because once you master your mind, you don't just attract wealth, you become wealth, you radiate clarity, confidence, and conviction, and the world begins to reflect the greatness you've finally chosen to believe. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Now keep going. Your next level is already waiting.